The night Daniel Harper gave away his last $18, the city felt colder than it ever had before, and the weight of the world pressed so hard on his chest that breathing itself felt like a battle. His jacket was thin, his shoes worn down at the heels, and the plastic grocery bag in his hand held nothing but a loaf of bread and a can of soup meant to stretch through the next 2 days. He was a poor single father doing his best to survive one exhausted step at a time, unaware that one small decision made in the shadows of a flickering bus stop would ripple forward and rewrite the rest of his life. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of doing good even when you have nothing left, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them most. Daniel had not always lived this way. There was a time when his life had structure, warmth, and the comfort of knowing tomorrow would be manageable. That life ended the night his wife passed away unexpectedly, leaving him alone with their 5-year-old daughter, Lily, and a mountain of grief he never had time to process. Medical bills swallowed their savings. Rent climbed higher while his hours at the warehouse were cut lower. Each morning, he woke before sunrise to pack Lily's school bag, kiss her forehead while she slept, and whisper promises he prayed he could keep. Every night, he returned home with aching muscles, a tired smile, and the fear that tomorrow might finally be the day he failed her. That evening, after working a double shift and stopping at the grocery store with the last $18 in his wallet, Daniel waited at the bus stop, counting the minutes until he could get home. The streetlights hummed softly, cars rushed past without noticing him, and the city moved on as if his struggle was invisible. That was when he noticed a man sitting on the bench nearby, hunched forward, shaking, his clothes dirty and his face drawn with hunger and exhaustion. Something about the man's stillness stood out, the way despair seemed to cling to him like a second skin. Daniel tried to look away. He told himself he could not afford compassion tonight. Lily needed breakfast. The rent was due. Life was already unfair enough. But then the man looked up, eyes hollow and distant, and Daniel saw something painfully familiar in them. It was the same look he saw in his own reflection when he stayed up late worrying about how to survive another week. Without overthinking it, Daniel reached into his pocket and felt the folded bills that represented his only safety net. His hand trembled as he pulled them out. He walked over and placed the money into the man's palm, along with the grocery bag. He did not wait for gratitude or acknowledgement. He simply turned and walked away, his heart pounding, his stomach tight with fear, and his mind already racing with the question of how he would explain an empty pantry to his daughter in the morning. That night, Daniel barely slept. He lay on the couch so Lily could have the bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the moment over and over. He wondered if he had been reckless or foolish. He wondered if kindness was a luxury meant for people who could afford it. Still, beneath the anxiety, there was a strange sense of peace, as if he had done something his late wife would have been proud of. Holding on to that thought was the only thing that finally allowed him to drift into a restless sleep. Morning came too soon. Daniel woke before his alarm, heart racing, the worries returning instantly. He made Lily a simple breakfast from what little remained in the kitchen, walked her to school, and returned home with heavy steps. As he turned the corner onto his street, he noticed something strange. The road was crowded in a way it never was, lined with vehicles that looked wildly out of place in his quiet, worn-down neighborhood. 5 black luxury SUVs stood parked outside his small, peeling house, their glossy surfaces reflecting the morning sun. Men in tailored suits moved with purpose, speaking into earpieces, scanning the area. Daniel froze. His first thought was that there had been some terrible mistake. Panic tightened his chest as 1,000 fears rushed through his mind. He wondered if he had done something wrong, if bills he could not pay had finally caught up with him, or if this was some cruel misunderstanding meant to shatter what little stability he had left. As he approached his house slowly, one of the men noticed him and nodded to the others. The movement felt surreal, like a scene from a movie unfolding in the middle of his fragile reality. His hands shook as he reached his front steps, every instinct screaming at him to run, even though there was nowhere to go. From the center SUV, the door opened, and a man stepped out, composed, confident, and unmistakably powerful. He wore a tailored coat and carried himself with quiet authority, yet there was something gentle in his eyes that softened the moment. He looked at Daniel with recognition, as if seeing an old friend, and that alone made Daniel's confusion deepen. The man approached, and the world seemed to hold its breath. Daniel felt small standing there in his worn jacket and scuffed shoes, unsure why someone like this would be at his door. His heart pounded so loudly he was certain everyone around could hear it. What happened next did not feel real. The man explained that he was the stranger from the bus stop, though clean, composed, and unrecognizable from the broken figure Daniel had helped the night before. He explained that the situation Daniel had seen was a test, a moment designed to reveal character when no reward was promised. He explained that he was the CEO of a private foundation dedicated to helping families who gave selflessly even when it cost them everything. But more than that, he explained that he had once been a poor single father himself, saved by a stranger who showed him mercy at his lowest point. Daniel listened in stunned silence as the man described how Daniel's kindness had not gone unnoticed, how surveillance teams documented acts of compassion across the city, searching for people who still believed in doing good simply because it was right. The $18, the last of Daniel's money, was not insignificant. It was proof of a heart willing to sacrifice for someone else's survival. The SUVs were not there to intimidate or punish. They were there to deliver a miracle. Inside the largest vehicle were documents that would change Daniel's life forever. His outstanding rent was paid in full for the next 2 years. His medical debts were cleared entirely. A trust fund was established for Lily's education, ensuring she would never have to fear losing her future the way he had feared losing hers. On top of that, Daniel was offered a stable job within the foundation, one that paid well, offered flexible hours, and allowed him to be present in his daughter's life. As the reality of it all settled in, Daniel's knees nearly gave out. The weight he had been carrying for years began to lift, replaced by a wave of emotion so overwhelming it left him breathless. He thought about the night before, about the fear and doubt, about the choice he almost did not make. He realized how close he had been to walking away, to letting his own suffering close his heart. Neighbors watched from their porches as the SUVs eventually pulled away, leaving behind a man standing in front of his home, changed forever. Daniel went inside and sat at the small kitchen table, burying his face in his hands, letting tears fall freely for the first time in years. They were not tears of despair this time, but tears of relief, gratitude, and disbelief. When Lily came home from school that afternoon, she found her father smiling in a way she had not seen since her mother was alive. She felt the shift in the air before she understood the details. Over the weeks that followed, their home transformed, not into something extravagant, but into something safe. The fridge was full. Bills were paid on time. Laughter returned to their evenings. Daniel no longer lived in constant fear of losing everything. Yet what mattered most was not the money or the security. It was the reminder that kindness still mattered in a world that often rewarded selfishness. Daniel never forgot the lesson of that night at the bus stop. He carried it with him into his new work, advocating for families in crisis, searching for others like him who needed not just help, but hope. As this story comes close to its end, take a moment to reflect on how one small act, done quietly and without expectation, can echo louder than we ever imagine. If this story touched your heart, moved you, or reminded you why kindness matters, please like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel so more stories like this can reach the world. And before the final moments fade, we have one special request for you. Please comment below and tell us what this story made you feel, because your words might be the encouragement someone else desperately needs today. Daniel Harper's life did not change because he was lucky or chosen at random. It changed because, in his darkest moment, he chose compassion over fear. And somewhere, at a bus stop under a flickering light, a single act of kindness proved that even $18, given with a pure heart, can be worth more than a fortune.